Y'all, thank you again. Oh, thank you again for coming to join us again today for our office hours that we do weekly. We don't have any special presenters today beyond our program staff. We do have a couple of slides so a couple things to update you on. So we'll jump right into that, and then we're really saving the majority of the time to be able to answer your questions. So we'll stay on for as long as you have questions. If the questions slow down, we'll hop off early. But I will hand it over. I believe we introduced them at the last office hours, but if we didn't, we have two new amazing grant managers that some of you may have already started hearing from, Jamie and Kyle. And so I will hand it off to Jamie for the next slide.
Thank you, Allie. Hi, team. Jamie Manarino. Many of you probably heard from either myself or Kyle yesterday. We tried to send emails out to all of our grantees to introduce ourselves and provide our contact information. One of the things we wanted to point out is we did send the full list of requirements. Many of you have already reached out and said, hey, I've already submitted those. We understand that. We'll be working with you to fill any missing pieces, but please don't feel like we were slamming you for things you've already submitted. Just a summary of where we are so far. We've had 87 grants accepted. We have had 27 network designs completed. We did want to quickly mention that when those designs are submitted, they do go through an internal check to ensure all the attributes are accounted for, and then we turn them over to KPMG. So you may think you've already submitted the diagrams and we're not showing them as completed. They could just well be in the workflow, and that's to be expected. We will continue reaching out now that you have our contact information on the deliverables, making sure that any questions you have are answered and that we're getting items in a timely manner so we can move forward with these grants. Right now, the focus is on completing the network design and documentation, and we want to get those award documents executed as quickly as possible. Please contact us with any issues. Kyle and I are fairly new to the team, but we have a great group behind us for questions and support, and we'll do everything we can to make it a great onboarding experience for you. If there's not any questions, we'll go ahead and hand it off. I believe Kyle's up next.
Thanks, Jamie. Hi again, everyone. Kyle Grago here. Happy to be part of the team. And just as a reminder, I wanted to kind of walk through the required documents that we're going to need before we can execute the official grant agreement. So first and foremost is the required training. So you have to log into SOC Learns to get an account and complete that training for both the project director, the financial officer, as well as the signature authority. So if you have done that, please send an email to your grant manager that says you've completed that training, and we'll check on the back end and make sure that the system is showing you completed that training. Please make sure you reviewed the compliance and reporting guidelines that can be found on the BEAD website. Once you have done that, please, same thing, send an email to your grant manager saying that you have reviewed that compliance and reporting guidelines. The financial management and internal controls questionnaire, please complete that and upload that to your Salesforce grant agreement location. And CDOT right-of-way access. Previously, we asked you to send an email to Leslie at CDOT, but just for documentation purposes, we ask that you forward a copy of that correspondence to Leslie, to your grant manager, so we can upload that as an artifact in the grant management area in Salesforce. As Jamie highlighted, please continue to work through getting your certified network design packages in and uploaded so we can review those and mark those as complete. We also need your cybersecurity and Scrum risk management plan certification. Again, this is your certification that you are meeting the federal guidelines for cybersecurity and supply chain risk management. We don't require any of your documents behind that, such as a cybersecurity plan or your Scrum risk management plan in and of themselves. We just require you to certify that you meet the federal requirements, and please sign that and upload that to Salesforce. The certificate of insurance, please ensure that's uploaded. Next is financial surety and letters of credit. We have received a few letters of credit sent to our main office by mail. We are an entirely virtual team, so getting to the main office to get some of that mail is a little challenging at sometimes, but we prefer that it be digital. So if you can work with your issuing authority on the letters of credit, please make sure that you get a digital copy and upload it into Salesforce. Similarly, for financial surety, if you're going to pursue the bond option, please upload a document in Salesforce stating such that you are going to pursue a bond to meet that requirement. Next, for tribal consent, we also would like a record of whether or not your project requires tribal consent. If it does require tribal consent, please upload a document certifying that you have received tribal consent. And if it does not require tribal consent, please still upload a document saying that your project does not require tribal consent. And finally, the certification to no additional public funding. That's a form that can be found on our website. Sign that and upload it in Salesforce. So you've probably seen a few emails back from myself or Jamie clarifying some of these requirements, but we're just trying to make sure we have a complete package in Salesforce for us to have before we proceed to an official grant agreement that meets all the federal regulations. So with that, I'll pass it back over to Ali. Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle. And just as like to put a bow on what Kyle was saying, our intent is when we get to the grant agreement stage, we will have something that documents your status for each of these items. So, which is why we're just adding the additional clarification around things like tribal consent and the CDOT letters and those kinds of things. Wanted to briefly start talking about next steps. And again, we're going to be talking about some questions next. So if you have any that have been coming up for you over the last couple of weeks, feel free to throw them in the chat. And so we can get started on them when we finish here. These don't necessarily go in order, but I wanted to mention all four of these things as things that you're going to be seeing us starting to talk about in the next couple of steps. So I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to start with grant agreements because hopefully for many of you, those are coming fast. So for the 27 projects that have submitted network designs, we're super excited. Thank you so much for getting those in. We've sent them over to the engineers to do a double check. And if we have all of your documentation, then we're really hoping to get these grant agreements out relatively quickly. So what you can expect when we start issuing grant agreements is that we'll issue the grant agreement, and it will be sent to you typically in DocuSign. Sometimes there's a little bit of back and forth. We may send you a Word copy to figure out where or who you're going to want to sign your grant agreement. So know that you can expect some communication from your grant managers around, potentially around that. The grant agreements, once they are executed, that begins your 4-year build out period for construction. And we're really excited. We hope we'll be able to help you move quickly if you need a little bit of help. So that's grant agreements. Happy to answer any questions that you have about that. Simultaneously, we will be working on the NEPA initial meetings. And so all that work that you put in to create those network designs, we hope that you will find that this process moves relatively smoothly for you. Once we have approved network designs from our engineers, we are sending those over to our environmental and historic preservation consultants, and they're taking those network designs and they're layering them over top of the environmental and historic considerations so that we're able to create what Serena was showing in one of our last programs, sort of green zones and red zones, areas where they believe that the environmental or historic preservation approvals will go relatively smoothly and quickly, and then areas in the red zone where we may want to dig in a little bit and have some more conversations with the experts. Once they've done that, they'll set up an initial meeting with you and your environmental consultants to talk through your projects. For the most part, we're thinking we're going to do these one per grantee, and we'll hit multiple projects if you have multiple projects. In some cases, if it feels like it's going to be too big a meeting, we may separate it into a couple pieces. But just know that you'll start getting communications around those hopefully within the next couple of weeks, and we'll get those set up and get you moving forward. Two additional things that once you sign your grant agreement, some things to start thinking about. Reporting. So once you sign your grant agreement, that kicks into the monthly progress reporting. Progress reporting happens within the Salesforce platform. You'll be able to see those reports once you've executed a grant agreement and gotten an award. You'll be able to see how you submit payment requests. You'll also be able to see the reporting requirements. I'll talk a little bit and can drop the resource in for what your speed and testing requirements are going to be. Those are defined by NTIA. We're passing those on directly with no additional work. The progress reporting is really like what's happening on your project. Are there barriers that you're running into? Or are there challenges that you're seeing that you'd like our help with? Or challenges that you're seeing that you guys have handled? It's your opportunity to document what's happening within your grant. And start talking a little bit more about that as grant agreements start coming online, so that we'll walk you through Salesforce, how to get into into that portion of the tool itself and to submit reports. This is the same if you had CPF grant funds, it'll be the exact same process. And then for cost accounting and financials, just as a reminder, it is never the Fed's responsibility to prove that you did not do something. It is your responsibility to prove that you did. So when you are setting up your accounting system, you'll hear us talk about subledgers. Basically, it's job costing, right? You need to make sure that you are tracking all of the costs associated with these projects under a job or a project, whatever you call it within your accounting system, so that those are set up and we are able to see the match portion and the federally subsidized portion or the state subsidized portion, if that's the case. Even though we're paying on milestones, if something goes wrong with your grant, the feds have the opportunity and the responsibility to come back and look at your documentation. So really want to make sure that you have this set up in a way that is quick and easy to be able to refer back to. There is the requirement to retain those documents for 5 years. Next slide. I saw a question pop up in the chat, and even before I hopped to that question, we got a couple via email. Thank you for sending those in. Wanted to talk through a couple of those questions because I thought they brought out some really great items. So we had a question. It feels like a two-part question, so I'm going to separate it out. So one of those questions is for things that you may be, so like for environmental consultant fees, where do you charge those, if you will, under your budget lines? They could go in two places, right? They're eligible expenses. They're things that you're allowed to spend money on. They could fall under permitting or they could fall under engineering and design. We're recommending, just for consistency's sake, to go ahead and drop those in your engineering and design expense. So your environmental consultant fees will go into engineering and design. Not a big deal if you don't do it that way, but it'll help us just sort of keep things consistent for all of our grantees. The second question that we were getting is really around costs that are being incurred before your agreement is executed. So we do have a milestone-based payment. It's a fixed amount award, but you still do need to get authorization in writing from your grant agreements that the costs that you are incurring are allowable. So if you are incurring costs that you believe you're going to want to charge to the grant in your accounting system, go ahead and get an email out to your grant manager. That'll be either Jamie or Kyle. With a request that says, hey, we'd like permission to incur these pre-award expenses. These are the things that we're anticipating spending money on, and we'll get a message back to you. the things that message will say are, if it is allowable, that it is allowable. We'll give you a reminder that no activities that are considered ground disturbance activities may be started until after the feds approve your NEPA plan. The other thing that it will say is that any costs that you incur prior to the execution of a grant agreement are fully at risk by your agency. Until you sign on the dotted line, the state has no fiscal responsibility. So, the other question, I think, was what are some of the reporting requirements that are going to be your responsibility over the course of the grant? I'm dropping a link in the chat here. I'll talk a little bit more about reporting. I see there's a question in the chat. But this is some of what the performance measures are going to be in terms of speed reporting. And so wanted to make sure that you had these available right away. And those were the ones that came in via email. I can start in on questions here. So, okay, lots of great questions. All right. Can we speak to what subrecipients should expect in terms of timing and next steps for contract execution once the checklist items are reviewed and curing is completed? Yeah, so we are hoping within the, I would say the second or third week of April to start getting grant agreements out for those of you that have completed all of your documentation. So it's going to take us a bit longer to do the final confirmation. We'll make sure our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed, and then we'll start communicating with you about getting those grant agreements out. So thank you to all of you who have been getting that documentation, and we're working frantically on the back end to make sure that we're ready for you and able to get those grant agreements out. You were recently asked to confirm review of the monitoring guidelines. Self-certification is sufficient. There is no, we will not provide an attestation. We appreciate you taking the time to look at those. That's our single source of truth. For those of you who haven't had a chance to look at those yet, I hope that's nobody, but if it is, the compliance reporting and monitoring guidelines is like the single source of truth between us and y'all. It's like put you to sleep at bed reading. I'm not kidding. Like it's boring, but it's a great reference document because it talks a little bit about what the expectations are from the state and what so that we can have common language around what's required and what's not required. So that's what this question is about. And yes, please just shoot us an email and say, yep, I've read it. We've got it. Easily accessible for our grant managers. Can you submit for pre-construction milestones out of order? In some cases, yes. We design them so that you don't necessarily have to go in order. That said, there are some that are contingent on others. So for example, your permitting plan milestones may change because of the conversations that you're having with NEPA approval. And so we don't necessarily want to get a permitting plan that doesn't accommodate the hotspots that our EHP consultants have identified, right? And it's missing milestones. We wouldn't pay you on that milestone if we hadn't already gone through had those conversations and seen your final plan. So in general, the answer is yes, but it's a common sense yes. Can templates that will be required for the contract be provided now? Hey, Laura, if you don't mind hopping off of mute to explain that one for me, I think maybe you mean the grant agreement template.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
It is.
Yes, that's available on our website. So if you want to, it's available on the benefit of the bargain provisional grantees dropdown. And the grant agreement template is there. You can take a look at it and review it. The things that will be missing from that, because it's a template that we would ask you to just once over one more time when you get it, will be things like your work description, which you have already approved when you and Michael and John were working through it. You already approved it. We've transferred it into Salesforce, but we do hope in the location list. We do hope that we don't hope. We ask that you look over that one last time, because once we sign on the dotted line, that's what we're memorializing as the work that you're promising to do. So, the template is there. That's the big document. That's the heavy lift in terms of review. But once you get it from us, you'll just want to check for each program. Make sure your dollar amounts are correct, your match amounts are correct, all the little details. When you look at the template, you'll see those highlighted in yellow. I think they're yellow. Keep me honest, team. But you'll see those highlighted in yellow. Those are the areas where something's going to be filled in, and those are the things that you'll want to check when we send it back out to you.
Allie, I've put the link in the chat directly to the document, and you're correct. Where it's highlighted in yellow, that'll be a field that's imported from the application and the grant agreement stages that we've done through Salesforce. And if it's highlighted in green, that's where signature lines and things will be placed in whenever the agreement is sent for signature.
Perfect. Thanks, Michael. Yes, I appreciate that. Can we provide an update on the coordination process for permitting between CBO, CDOT, subrecipients, and environmental vendors? I can give a partial update. It's actually really kind of exciting. I've really been enjoying working on this. HDR has been amazing. We have coordinated, so I would just add our State Historic Preservation office to this, our SHPO office to this as well. So we have been working really hard with both with CDOT, with SHPO, those are state agencies, and also some of our federal partners, to try and figure out how we can process your how we and they can process your environmental and permitting requests more quickly. And so we've had some really great conversations around, batching and doing batch approvals for some of the vendors. I'm sorry, not vendors, some of the permitting agencies. Some we're not going to be able to do that. But for many, it looks like we are. And so we'll be able to take, for some of you, as a grantee, if you have multiple projects, we may be able to batch some of those. We'll talk more about your individual circumstances in your initial meeting. So as you're ready to have those conversations with us around the initial meeting, let us know. The thing that we ask for that initial meeting, and I think this is going to get to Brian's question, is we're asking that you come in, that you have already done an initial assessment for your NEPA review, and ideally that you will have sent your archaeological request to SHPO to get that data back, because that is not data that we can request on your behalf. That's data that we will need to get from you. And I want to make sure that answered your questions. That was a lot of questions, a lot of me talking, Lara. Anything that I'm missing here?
No, ma'am, that was excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Brian, can you hold your initial meeting with the environmental consultant before you have a fully executed agreement? I'm going to answer this in two pieces. One, you can be meeting with your environmental consultants before you have a fully executed agreement. I do recommend, if you're spending money on the grant, I don't recommend, I request that you send requests for written approval of those costs over to our team, please. And just let us know that those are happening. We'll get an email right back out to you. With our environmental consultant, in some cases you will be able to have an initial meeting before your fully executed grant agreement. And as it happens, we're looking for a couple of brave souls who would be willing to be our first couple of guinea pigs. So if you're interested in that, we would love it if you would shoot an email to your grant manager, and we will prioritize your projects. The only caveat there is that you have to have submitted your network design. We won't do any reviews until you have submitted your network design and it has been approved by our engineers. But if we have, I hope you'll just shoot an email over to your grant managers if you'd be willing to be one of our first reviews. We'd really love that. Brian, did that answer your question? Did I get that?
Yes, it did. Perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, great. Julia. All right. So we've got progress reports. Yes, progress and financial reports do have two different dates. So your financial reports are due quarterly, your progress reports are due monthly, and in either case, it's 15 days um, after the month end where it was completed. I think what you're pointing out here is that section 6A says that they're both due quarterly. They're not. The progress report is due monthly. The financial report is due quarterly. We'll get that updated. And Juliana, can you just confirm that's coming from the template, the grant agreement template? That's what it looks like to me, but
Yes, that's where it came from.
great. Monthly and quarterly are the requirements, and we'll make sure we get that updated. Thank you so much for pointing that out. Craig, are there any draft EHP plan templates we can share with you? Yes. So we are working on this. Hopefully, we will have this out for you by the end of next week. I've been promising it for weeks. There is going to be, most specifically, a checklist. I think it's attachment one, that will really help your environmental consultant sort of walk through the steps of what NTIA is going to be looking for. And it also really directs them towards the categorical exclusions or program comments that are going to make the review more straightforward. In our initial meeting as well, we'll have conversations with your consultants about making sure they're right sizing their review for you, so that it is as streamlined for you as possible, both on your individual consultant end, but also on the NTIA end. And then let's see. Did that answer your question, Craig?
Yeah, mostly. I'm also wondering if NTIA has an automated review, and then if they require the states to format the plan in such a way that is consistent with their automated review for streamlining. So just making sure we have all that filled out and we know what we're shooting for.
Yep, I can talk through that a little bit. So NTIA does have automated review. They have a system called ESAP, that is sort of a series of checklists and uploads, checkboxes and uploads, that we will submit on your behalf. So the way that this is going to work is that you'll be meeting with our consultants on our end. We're not going to send anything to the feds until we believe it's going to pass straight through their system. So it's our job to get you sort of in line, if you will. And this attachment number one is the checklist that effectively we have to answer on your behalf within that streamlining tool. And so your consultant will go through the checklist, they'll fill it out, they'll send it back to us, and then they'll send us all the backup documentation. Our EHP consultants will review the backup documentation and concur, or if they don't concur, we'll have some conversations around either maybe the additional work that needs to happen, or whether or not they're mitigating, either mitigating circumstances or mitigating actions that you all will need to take. Once all that is, we've gone back and forth, we're all in agreement, we get SHPO's approval, we will package that and upload it to the feds. And the goal, I mean, the Fed's stated goal, NTI's stated goal is to process those very, very quickly. I've seen their system. I'm pretty impressed. If I'm being honest, I really have hopes that that it's going to work. That said, the sheer volume of what they're about to get, I just can't even imagine, because it's, for us, it's 92 grants. For them, it's thousands and thousands of grants. So I know they don't want to overpromise, but they've created a good system, and I hope that we've created a system whereby it'll make it even easier for them, because we're going to streamline. Did that get at what you were asking about, Craig?
It does. And it sounds like the process is mostly baked. So if we meet up with or have that initial consultation with the environmental consultants, that we'll get most of the way there.
Yes. Yeah. And then you will get an email from it, Craig. You'll get an email from us next week, I think, is the plan. So you should get an email with a document that'll walk you through in more clarity around exactly what we're expecting for you all to be sending in to us. All right. So Juliana, Juliana, I love your questions. Okay, so when will you receive the templates for progress reports, financial reports, payment requests, budget mods, and the project summary? Those are in your in the Salesforce uh, um, uh, electronic grants management system. And so once you have signed your grant agreement, you will have access to all of those forms. You'll be able to look at them. Submit them if you're ready to submit them. I can't imagine you will be initially, but you'll be able to see all of those forms. The final progress report and the final financial report you can find on our compliance website at the bottom of the screen. I believe they've all been updated for BEAD, but you'll double check if they still have CPF language on them. We expect that they will be substantively similar. I think we've gotten them updated already though. So, if Michael, if you don't mind, maybe that the link to the compliance library or someone from our team, the link to the compliance library, if you don't mind just dropping it in the chat. And then Juliana, if you just drop to the bottom there, you'll be able to see closeout materials. The thing that is not relevant to BEAD is the speed reporting. It is the speed test requirements are different for CPF than they are for BEAD. So you'll want to use the link that I dropped in the chat for the speed test requirements. Jamie, question and answers is written facts. Yes, that's going to be in our facts document that we update. I think we update it, Kristen, each week, right? Definitely I'm on meetings about it each week. So it will be a part of your our facts document. You can find that facts document live. The most current version is always under our BEAD provisional grantees dropdown on the benefit of the bargain tab on our website. Cynthia, if you haven't received an email from Kyle or Jamie, when will you know which one is our grant manager? Woo, Kyle and Jamie, I don't know. Immediately. Oh, Jamie, if you're talking, you're on mute.
Thank you. And Cynthia, I'm sorry, which group are you with? We'll check our list to make sure
Sure.
we get you in.
Strata Networks.
Strata Networks, yes. And I can tell you who the initial went to, Cynthia. It was the primary contact and the signatory contact, most likely. So extra contacts may not have been sent. So
Yeah, I asked him and he said he didn't see them, but I'll have him check again.
yeah, I'm gonna check to tell you who it went to here.
It's Jason. I know who it goes to. I just
Yeah, just to make sure he received it.
check with Dave too.
Yeah.
Also, just a reminder, our Salesforce emails often go to spam folders.
Yeah, I already whitelisted you.
Okay, something we're working on our end, but have not yet been able to solve. So just a heads up.
All right.
We'll get one out. If you haven't received one yet, we'll get one out soon.
We will double check and get it out promptly.
All right. Juliana's got a twofer. So we need to submit payment at a minimum of once every 6 months. I don't think I've met you, Juliana, but you're just warming my like shriveled compliance heart right now. These questions, they really are. So yes, you need to submit a payment a minimum of once every 6 months. Does the clock start at submission approval or when approval? You know what? Let me take that back. Don't quote me on that. Let me think on that a little bit. I think we were envisioning approval, but it's a great question. I'll take it back and we'll answer that in our facts document. And then the second, how long do you have to submit for a payment once a milestone is complete? That's a great question. I I will say my initial thoughts, but I'm gonna reserve the right to change them in the facts document. Um, Once the milestone is complete, we don't currently have documented when you have to submit for payment. I think maybe what you're thinking about here is, do you stretch those payments out a little bit so that you hit the 6 months? Our intention really was to be able to give grantees enough working capital to be able to move forward with the grant. And so we really didn't envision pushing the request out to meet that 6 months. I would be interested in talking a little more about what you're thinking here, Juliana. We do have the ability, I think it's in one of the footnotes. I think we've noted it in one of the footnotes in the budget exhibit, Exhibit C, in the grant agreement, that if you are in construction, which is where we anticipate there being sort of the biggest gap in payments, and you hit the 6 month period, that we can have a conversation about potentially partial payments. NTIA has offered a little bit of guidance on this as well. So I think it's a really good question. We'll chat internally and figure out if we feel like we need to put a requirement on how quickly we need you to submit for payment once a milestone is complete. I will say one of the things that I'm thinking about as I'm thinking about this is that we have these like competing challenges in that we've got this sort of 6 month deadline. We want to make sure that you all have enough working capital to be able to continue your work. And also, financial progress is sort of a lagging indicator for us, but it is an indicator of project progress. And so we do want to make sure that we're tracking project progress as closely as we possibly can, and submission of those financial requirements as part of it. We have had the experience where grantees hold all of their submissions till the end, and then there's a problem with them, and we can't go back and fix them. And so we also want to avoid that. I think it's less likely in a milestone-based payment, but it can be really challenging when that happens. So I will reserve the right to answer these questions via fax instead of live, but that's some of my thought process on it. Right, y'all, those are great questions. Other questions? From the team, anything that we need to add?
Looks like Craig has his hand up.
Hey team, had a follow-up question from KPMG last week on Build America, Buy America. There was a slide where Naveed said 100% of the BEAD funded project has to be Build America, Buy America compliant. And question is if that includes existing infrastructure that is incorporated into or built upon to extend and edge out from an existing network. So the way you phrased it, it sounded like it was retroactive, but looking at old OMB guidance and some of the 2 CFR 184 stuff from other named agencies, it would suggest that there is a purpose, time, and place test that you can apply, but NTIA doesn't have guidance on that. So does CBO have wisdom on where you draw the line for what is incorporated into your BEAD project?
Yeah, Craig, I think you got that in like at the last second, didn't you? In the last one?
Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
involved question that may not have an
Yeah.
answer yet, but
Yeah.
there's a very common sense side to it, but sometimes
Yep.
this doesn't have common sense behind it. So
Well, we will cross our fingers and hope that it does. We actually have sent that message off to NTIA as well. So we felt like it was a really good question, and we are hoping to get some documented answers from NTIA around that. So I'm sorry we don't have a great immediate answer for you. It does look like, based on guidance, that if an item is altered, gosh, Kyle, help me with the words here. Modified, altered, and repaired, something like that. That those then become subject to BABA. Our question to NTIA was sort of, we gave them a couple of examples, like if you're tying into backhaul, technically, right, like it's altered, but there's but which part of that then can that be subdivided into what is actually being altered, right? The backhaul isn't, but maybe the attachment is. And can we get a little bit of clarity on, oh, what those items are? Make ready's kind of the same way. So thank you for the question. We've sent it off to NTIA, and we'll try and get as quickly as we can concrete some concrete answers for you on the scope of BABA application.
Yeah, thank you. I think the most pragmatic approach is what EPA does. So if a DOC wants to pattern EPA, they're a bit further ahead in the manual on this one. And that purpose, time, and place test is very pragmatic when it applies to broadband networks.
Love it. Hey, Craig, could I impose on you to shoot an email to the advanced box with that citation? And they haven't answered me yet, so I could follow up with it and get that over to them.
Yep, we'll do.
That'd be great. Thank you. The DRF. Oh, Haley, I love that you're asking these questions. The draft permitting plan template is not available yet. Hopefully we'll have it available for you in about 2 weeks, before grant agreements are signed. We anticipate having it. We're working with both our EHP consultants, and also we're going to need to be building something within our Salesforce system for what that upload is. So we will give you a template that will have exactly the fields that you'll need to fill in so that you can update the permitting plan. That said, we can talk a little bit about what we anticipate being on there. So obviously the entity that you're going to be applying for permitting for, contact information, email, and telephone number. When you anticipate requesting that permit, the costs that are associated with that permit, and confirmation that those have been, that those are not estimates, that they're actual costs that you've discussed either with the permitting agency or if they're publicly available, that's fine too. So those are the items that'll be in there, but we're hoping in the next 2 to 3 weeks we'll have a template for you. Thank you, Kyle. Kyle pinged me on the back end. Kyle, you can always hop right in, but yes, Kyle reminded me that I don't know that we have announced this here yet. We will be holding permitting roundtables, 5 permitting roundtables across the state to start having conversations with our permitting partners, our permitting and make-ready partners, public utilities. Over the next couple of months, we hope to have them finished by July 1st. And we will we're still designing the layout of that, but we should have some great information around what some of the challenges are that some of our particularly our home rule permitting agencies are facing, and potentially some strategies for streamlining or for supporting them to make sure that your broadband projects don't face unnecessary permitting challenges. So more information to come. We're really excited about this initiative. We really hope that it'll help. And did I miss a question, Cynthia? I might have missed a question. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is super fascinating. The proof of no profit or fee. You likely are not going to have to submit anything other than invoicing just since you seem someone who is interested in details, the 2 CFR 200, which is uniform guidance, it is the guidance that drives all of the federal reporting. In the section that talks about fixed amount awards, I think it's 200.201, but don't quote me on that, has some narrative around no profit or fee. And so if it is a fixed amount award, um, income that is above your actual expenses that is related to a fixed amount of work is not considered profit or fee for the purposes of this sort of categorical item. I will say this makes the match thing really complicated, and so we'll have more guidance for you in terms of how you're documenting that you are contributing your match amounts that we do have to record. Likely what will happen, we will still, the financial reporting, Juliana, when you're able to get in and look at it, we'll have your actual expenses over time as related to the sort of budget categories that you had created. So our intention is to be able to track match and your expenses over time moving forward. And we're hoping to be able to use that documentation as no profit or fee. So we'll see moving forward if we believe that's going to work. We may be making decisions about that a little bit farther on in our grant process. Thanks, Cynthia. Yeah, of course, Juliana. Anyone else? Oh, Craig.
Yep, another easy one.
Oh, God. Your questions are never easy.
So our BEAD agreement template has the section in there about use of covered communications equipment. It references CFR, which references FCC. Just a few days ago, FCC happened to put all Wi-Fi routers as enemy number one on the covered list. And how's that going to work out to get internet to the people? Are you going to lobby on behalf of vendors, or do we have to do that individually, or how does that work to get stuff on the off the naughty list and on the nice list?
Thanks for that heads up. I had not seen that. I tell you, you are so connected. We'll take a look at it. We'll raise it with NTIA. I do think I would sort of echo what Naveed was saying last time. When you guys reach out to your associations, particularly your trade associations, and the trade associations reach out, or vendors individually reach out to NTIA, it has a huge impact. So if I think that's something that I would suggest we will take a look at. We'll move forward with reaching out to NTIA to get a little bit of clarification on it, but strongly suggest that you reach out to your trade associations, raise it as an issue, and see if they are interested in contacting NTIA on behalf of ISPs.
Okay, and I guess for now, if you could just put an asterisk next to the metadata column where we filled in vendor equipment for CPE, knowing that anything we might have put in there right now is currently doesn't have conditional approval. So as long as you consider that metadata field for CPE a placeholder, call it a wish list and not hold it against us, and then we can work on the trade associations and try and find our way through this. But take note that it applies to both 2-box and 1-box solutions for ONU plus Wi-Fi for managed routers. So it's everything.
Thank you.
And Craig, just to clarify, I was just looking at the FCC covered list. Are Are you referring to the update from March 23rd, 2026, referring to routers produced in a foreign country?
Yeah, last row.
Okay.
And
Thank
if
you.
if you follow the list of the link to the conditionally approved routers, there are 0 routers and 4 UAVs that are on that conditionally approved list.
All right, that's a new development. Thank you.
Thanks for
welcome.
bringing that up, Craig. I'm always scared when you raise your hand, for the record.
Just trying to help where I can.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. We'd much rather see this stuff in advance when we can do something about it than when it's too late. But you do bring up a really great point. So recognizing that when you've sent in your network designs, you have anticipated vendors, you have anticipated equipment types in your attribute list. We do recognize that some of those things may change. What we would do is potentially sort of compare for making sure that the capability or capacity is the same. But frankly, it could be that in 3 years, when you're subscribing customers, that there's something better out that is the same cost and that you're interested in using it, and that is acceptable. So I just want to make sure that that's clear as well. Anything else? I thought we were going to be done early, y'all, but we got about 6 minutes left. Hearing none. Thank you all so much for the fantastic questions. This was really, really great. If you have any other questions, I hope that you will reach out. As always, send questions to the advance email box. We're happy to receive them. Your questions make our program better for sure. So, if you're interested in being one of our first EHP guinea pigs, we welcome that as well. We'd love to have you. All right. Well, thank y'all. We'll let you go have 5 extra minutes in your day. Have a great day.